Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for Boundless Accelerator presents Toolkit Tuesday Lunch and Learn. I'm Alex Miller. I'm the program manager of the Startup program at Boundless Accelerator, and I'm happy to be here with you today. I'd like to thank our corporate sponsors, Danby, Synergetics, and Invest Wealth. We are very grateful for their support and all that we do. Before I begin today's session, I would like to begin with a land acknowledgement. As we gather today, let us take time to reflect on our privileges to live and work in Guelph, a city built over rich Indigenous histories. We are guests here, and we should reflect upon the responsibility to care for this land, the people who live here, and the generations to come. If our actions today can move us towards reconciliation, we should take pause and make those decisions with intention and gratitude. This place we call Guelph has served as a traditional land and a place of refuge for many people over time, more specifically the Attawandarung and the Haudenosaunee. This land is held as a treaty lands in a territory with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Guelph lies directly adjacent to the Holloman Tract and is part of a long-established traditional hunting grounds for the Six Nations of the Grand River. Many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people have come across Turtle Island, call Guelph home today. So today's webinar is workshops on pitch decks. We're going to go over flow, content, and narrative, and it's going to be presented by Gaurav Bansal. In case some of you are new to Boundless Accelerator, I'm going to give a very quick history lesson about us. So we were established in 2010 as Innovation Guelph and are one of 17 regional innovation centers in Ontario. We are proud to share with you that we've won many awards for our leadership in advancing Canadian entrepreneurs across the country. Yes, the country. While we are located in Guelph, Ontario, we serve the entire region of Southern Ontario and have one national program. This means while most of our clients are located in the Toronto to Waterloo corridor, we do have some clients all the way to BC, to Nova Scotia, and throughout most of Ontario. We work with our clients and support them throughout multiple stages of business growth, from startup to scale up, with many programs and workshops, networking opportunities, and professional introductions. However, all this information can be found on our website at boundlessaccelerator.ca. That's enough for me at this time, and I'd like to pass things over to our amazing presenter, Gaurav Bansal.
Thanks, Alex, and great to connect with everybody. Sorry, I can't see the video panel, but great to connect with all. I'm an advisor at Boundless Accelerator, and I'm also a founder and CEO of AMG Venture Partners. So today we're going to be talking about pitch decks. Okay. A little bit of background about myself. I've worked across tech and finance from pre-seed to IPO stages, managed funds for family office VC funds, around 35 VC investments in 10 countries, closed IPO private equity deals for 2 billion USD plus. I've been a techie, so I'm also an engineer in data analytics. I've done tons of safe convertible SHAs in 10 different jurisdictions. I've invested in my capacity as well. And in my course of this journey, I've reviewed probably 20,000 plus decks and financial models, right? And that's where I come in and I work with founders as an advisor where I coach them on how to raise capital from angels and VCs. A little bit about my firm. So I partner with incubators, accelerators in 4 continents. I help them design programs. I work as a lead advisor. I'm also on a lot of review panels to screen applications. I run end-to-end investment readiness programs. I do a lot of assistance on grant applications and how to augment the applications. And other than that, I also work directly with founders on their fundraising. I also help them work on their compelling narratives and design decks and build end-to-end detailed financial models from an investor perspective. So that's what I do on my full-time basis. Now, generally in investment readiness, you cover a lot of things, right? So just to give you an idea, in case you're planning to raise capital, we talk about how do you start a fundraise, what investor material do you prepare? Then in second session, we generally talk about valuation, dilution, runway, post-money, pre-money, all those technical jargons with numeric examples. And then I also help founders on how do you build a financial model and articulate that return narrative to investors? And then comes the pitch deck, which we'll be doing today in the next 1 hour or so. And then I also, kind of cover not today, but in general around how do you find investors, how do you reach out to them, and how do you address the questions they ask, and what are the terms in your term sheets that you do not agree, and how do safes operate. So generally, this is what goes in a full IRP. Today, for 1 hour, we'll be talking about pitch decks. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Now, the first thing to remember is to understand that a winning pitch is not about an emotional narrative or impact, unless you're pitching to a grant or an impact fund. And it is not about design templates or beautification, right? It is about storytelling, but from a business standpoint. It's a business narrative. So remember the word business narrative, convincing investors in your ability to build a venture scale business. Okay, so think of it this way. I won't get into the mathematics behind it, but let's say if you are a software company, right? You're not a medical device, that's different. But let's say you're a software company. Any investor, any VC fund manager is looking for a 100x return at pre-seed seed stage. So if they were to put $1 in you, can you give them a $100 return at the end of 7 to 10 years? If you were to articulate it in terms of revenue, if you pitch to me, I am looking for an opportunity which will show me a vision that you as a founder can build a 100 million revenue company in the next 7 to 10 years. This is a key takeaway, right? So when you're talking to equity investors, it's not 3x, it's not 10x, it's 100x. And that is at pre-seed seed stage. Okay, and I'm looking for a vision of 100 million revenue company in 7 to 10 years. So that's what your pitch got to communicate when you pitch to investors. Second, investors have a very low attention span due to large volumes of pitches we look at. So your aim is to capture the attention and communicate the key message, which I just explained you, in 2 to 3 minutes. Those are two key rules to remember when you're thinking about pitch decks. Now, to prepare for fundraising, you need tons of things. Today, we are going to talk about the two things, which is your teaser and quality pitch deck. Okay. Now, if you look at an investor screening funnel, right? So typically, if I'm looking to make 10 investments in a year, I'm looking at roughly 2,000 decks annually. Okay, because the general investment rate is 0.5%. Okay, so when you send me a deck here, you have your customer sales funnel. This is my investor screening funnel. It's kind of a same analogy. Why it's important to understand, when you send me a deck here, if in 2 to 3 minutes it is not communicating what I'm looking for, it does not flow down the funnel, right? Because I have such a high volume, I have to select which are the top 100 I want to give a call to. Now, these numbers will change for every investor, but the key takeaway from the slide is the objective when you do an initial pitch or you send an email with a pitch to an investor is to get this 60-minute meeting. Okay, it is not to get a check. Okay, so keep this in mind when you do the outreach or you do the initial pitch, you got to make it count. Okay. Now, how do you think about investors, right? You might be meeting them in a coffee shop, in a demo day, and whatnot. Hence, it's very important to understand that all pitch decks are not the same. It depends on when and which format to share. Okay, so let's say you're sending an email to an investor, or you're pitching live. It could be either. If you're sending it in an email, please remember it should not be more than a 5-minute thing for somebody to read. It should be self-explanatory. It should not be just images where I have to just think, oh, what does it mean? Should not be more than 10 to 12 slides, and it should not have theses and paragraphs of text. And this is with experience. I receive so many decks. Some have just images, some have too much text, some it's just emotions and theory. Nobody's talking about business, right? So we will decipher in this coming slides what are we looking for. It should be a balance between image and text, and each slide should have a key takeaway message. Okay. Now, if you're pitching live, right, it's a demo day. or just a 30-minute meeting, sometimes founders eat away 15 minutes just to pitch. Don't do that. Keep your pitch short, maybe 5 minutes, so that there is ample time for investors to ask questions. Okay? Because remember, pitch is not just about a PPT, it's also about how you deliver and what's the next call to action from that meeting. Okay? So this is very important in terms of which format and how much time to invest, how much content to share at different stages of this funnel. Okay, so let's I like to take examples, right? So let's go here. We'll go here. Let's look at this. Is my screen still visible? Do you see Lex up here?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's take a look at this example. So this is the first slide, modern legal document delivery. Perfect. So I understand it has got to do something with legal documents. And remember, this is a pitch I'm receiving in my email. So I see this slide. I have no idea. Okay, somebody's giving an envelope. Awesome. You've been served. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, so now I have lots of papers and I have a clock. So it's got something to do with papers and something that it will take time. This much I can think. And probably it's costly. Oh, it's not costly. Okay. So you're seeing how my brain is processing this deck which comes in my email. Okay, I'm already on the 6th slide and I have no clue what's really happening. Then I see the 7th slide, which is another image, lots of paper, $125 and 24 hours. I'm still breaking my head to figure out exact correlation. And okay, there is some app. Okay, this company makes some app. Got it. Okay, send, track, and prove. I have no idea what's happening here. Right? So now look at it this way. I'm on the 11th slide. I have still not got the context of what's really this startup doing. I'll probably not look at this further. Okay, I'll probably move on to my next company. So now let's look at Balloon R. And these are actual decks you receive, or we as investors receive when we kind of evaluate companies. Okay, this is the first slide. Get unreachable insights. Okay, it's got something to do with insights. Amazing. Oh, there are sheep. Okay. I have no idea what this is, but I see a lot of sheep. So maybe it's something to do with dairy or maybe textiles. I don't know. Oh boy. Okay. I don't know what happened there. There's a sheep with a bucket. And now there are humans with some thought processes. So remember, I'm on slide 5. I have no clue what these slides are doing. But here comes a slide which says big logo names and it says paying customers. So now look at my psychology. First 5 slides, I have no clue what this company is doing. It has got to do with insights, but there was sheep all over. And now I see this slide, I'm like, okay, they've done a horrible job in pitching or give their deck in the email, but it seems they have some amazing paying clients. I will give them a call. This is called my hook slide. Okay, the concept here is which is the most important and strengthful slide in your deck, you move it right in the front. There is no sequencing. Okay, so that is another concept I just wanted to bring up as we look at these examples. Let's look at one more. Maybe let's look at Alma Base. And I'm sharing these because a lot of you would probably be making similar mistakes. So Alma Base is an all-in-one platform for alumni engagement. Okay, so I understand it is some kind of networking platform for alumni. So it is now showing me the problem statement. See, this is a good deck. I'm sitting in my office. I received this deck. I'm reading. Okay, I can relate to what they're talking about. And 90% don't have. See how there is an image with very simple text. It's not flooded with 20 lines or 3 paragraphs. It's giving me a numerical impact and a statement and a diagram. That's how simple your deck has got to be. Okay. This is just an example of what are good techs in terms of communicating. So the objective of this platform is to increase donations by 5x. Awesome. That's the customer value you're creating. And in just 8 months, this is what they've done. Look, this is the traction slide. No complex stuff, just 2 data points. That's it. Right? And this is how they operate. So the idea is in simplicity and not complexity. And that's what I wanted to show with some example. I see somebody in the chat. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna hide this. Okay. So these were some examples on how not to just send images or not to have too much text. How do you balance it out? Okay, so let's go to the next one. So key learning, VC spend roughly 2 to 3 minutes per deck. So you make it count and use the apt format, right? Remember receiving a sheep, the one which I showed you as an example, that kind of a deck, and you don't even know the company, what to make of it, right? So it's very important that you have a key text message, a key takeaway heading, simple image, and very few data points in your slides. Now, why is storytelling important, right? Why? Because remember, we back founders. We don't back just ideas. Everybody has ideas, but we are looking for people who have the ability to build a business to give me that 100x return, right? And this is just an understanding of why I'd say 100x. Let's say I invest $1 in 100 companies, so $100, right? 50% of them will give me zero returns, probably 90%, right? But it's just an example that, okay, 25% of these 100 companies will give me 0.5 return, right? So if I invested, let's say $25 here, I get 12.5 back. That's what it means. So if you look at this, I'm not even making 3x of my total. When I take money from my investors, I have to give them 3x. But the assumption is that 90% of my investments will fail. So I have to assume that every investment will give me that 100x return. So are you that founder who has the traits to give me that return? That's what the storytelling has to talk about. It doesn't have to talk about beautification of the deck or emotions and all of that. Okay, so this is the business angle I'm trying to help you understand. So what goes into storytelling? Founder's ability to convince stakeholders. Are you the right storyteller? And what parameters? These parameters. Are you the founder who can articulate to the customers that, hey, in that example, I will increase your donations by 5x, so you pay me something for this product? Do you have the ability to sell value proposition in dollar terms to customers and get a business model in place? Then, do you have the ability to build a team of experts to scale? Or are you somebody who's too married to equity, doesn't want to build a team, and just keep everything to yourself? Do you have a vision that, hey, if I onboarded this CTO or this COO, it will help me scale fast and get all the building blocks in place? It also showcases your leadership abilities to build a team of co-founders and advisors. Okay. And lastly, stakeholders. How do you manage stakeholders? Whether it's customers, whether it's governments for grants, whether it's third party to help you build your products, whether it's advisors to advise you on roadmaps, or investors to give you the money. This is what we are looking for in a tech, which is founders' ability to tell a story that, hey, you can trust me. I'm giving you enough conviction that I can address all of these points. Okay, now let's look at the next slide and you'll see what I'm talking about. All of this is from the previous slide. Each of this parameter is actually a slide in your pitch deck, more or less, right? This is about the problem. How critical is the problem? This is your product. So what solution are you bringing to the table? Business model, what's your revenue line? How do you make money? How do you reach out to the market? What's your team strength? What's your vision? Where do you want to take this company? How do you stand out against the competition, right? What is your progress so far in terms of product development, partnerships, maybe some paying clients, and growth story? Can you build that 100 million revenue company in 7 years, right? I know realistically 90% of your assumptions may change, but do you have the vision and rational thought process on how you will do it? And is the market large enough? Okay. So, you've got to think business when you're doing your storytelling, because the investor on the other side is looking to make money. Okay. And this is, we'll share this with you. This is the standard, let's say, type of slides in your deck. It doesn't have to be in this sequence. It could be in any sequence. Ideally, you should have your most impactful slide right at the top. Okay. Now, when you think about pitch decks or pitching, it is not just a presentation. As I said, you may sometimes have a very small deck, short deck, sorry, 3 to 5 minute deck. You could have a longer deck. If you are a seed or Series A company, you could also have a longer deck in the data room. You need to practice your script for demo days. You need to have an elevator pitch, which is a one-liner which you can communicate in a minute. And then you have to practice this verbally. So pitching is not just PPT, it's PPT in different formats, it's script as well as elevator pitch and verbal pitch practice. Okay, these are important aspects to think from your preparation standpoint before talking to investors. This is not going too much into it. If you just Google Sequoia template for pitch decks, it kind of works more or less for everybody, right? So no R&D here, very simple format in terms of how to think about simple pitch decks which communicate a message that the investors are wanting to hear. And we can share this link with you. Okay. Now, so key points to consider, right? You've learned why is storytelling important, what is investor looking for, but how do you build a pitch deck, right? Like, what's the process, right? Now, some key learnings with experience which I want to share. Do not start with a PPT template. Okay, don't take a template from online or some old version and start there. No, don't do that. Do not spend too much time on design and beautification. Do not clutter the slides with too much content and text. And I gave you example of how simple the slides could be. When you send a deck, either send a hyperlink, or if you are sending something, please do not send pitch deck version final BF. Remember, I'm receiving 20 decks a day. I don't even remember whose deck this is. Put your company. Small things, but they matter. Okay. Large font size, mix of image and text, and a key takeaway message, which I also explained. A lot of founders don't put company logo, right? So if I don't have Boundless Accelerator logo here, you'll probably forget who's the company we're talking about, right? So always have your logo here. In your context, if you're pitching live, I recommend having slide numbers. The reason is, if you're presenting and an investor wants to ask a question, right? They can always refer that, hey, in slide so and so, could you help me explain that or help me understand, right? If you use any data points, this is a 3 trillion market globally. Give me the source. If you do not put a footnote with the source, I do not know how to authenticate it. Okay, I always recommend don't send PDFs, send a hyperlink so you can track engagement. You can use DocSend, HubSpot, whatever tool you would like. In your first 2 to 3 minutes of pitching, focus on your key strength. I gave you an example of a hook slide, which is the most hard selling point to the audience, which is investors in this case. The moment you do that, the moment you show me, oh, we are 3 co-founders with 60 years of combined experience across this, I am interested because I'm like, oh, these are experienced people, right? Or, oh, hey, we have 6 paying clients. That's interesting. Oh, we got a US FDA approval. That's interesting. Whatever is your key hard selling point, that should be right up so you engage me already with your first slide. Okay. Now, I'll explain this 9 point in the subsequent slides on how do you not start with a PPT template and still build a deck. Now, remember, the purpose of the first meeting with the investor is to get the next meeting or invite interest to the data room. It is not to get a check. Why I'm sharing this, you get a half an hour first call. All you do is 20 minutes talk about your tech. You do not let them do any Q&A. Do not make that mistake. Leave ample time for interaction. It shouldn't be a one-sided pitching. There is no right or wrong sequence in the pitch deck slides, as long as the story resonates or makes sense. As long as there is a flow, you're able to articulate why you are the right person to build a 100 million revenue company and why this will scale in the next 7 years. That is fine. It doesn't have to be that this slide should come first or that slide should come first. Any questions till now? Anybody? Okay, let's get going. So how do you build a pitch deck? Okay, start with a Word document. Take a Word document, okay, like a blank, and then you put one key message for each slide. Okay, so let's look at this one. Let's say you take a Word document, right, and you say slide cover, and you put your tagline. Second, you say slide problem, put the 2 or 3 bullets that you want to talk about in your slide. This exercise you do in your Word document, not in a PPT. Okay, so what you're essentially doing, you're creating, let's say, headings in your Word document, and you're adding 3 bullet points for each. And what do you cover in each of these is very simple. Your cover is essentially what represents you. How do you want people to remember? Okay, problem. So for example, current healthcare system is not able to service the patients. Patients face extreme discomfort in current healthcare systems. These are vague problem statements. Okay, so you cannot talk about those. What you could say is, I'm just giving example, random example. The current X-ray imaging solutions are outdated, and a doctor can only do 10 X-rays a day, right? Which causes revenue loss, life loss, and whatnot. You got to create a context as to which stakeholder is facing the problem and what's the quantification of the problem. Do not have theoretical problem statements. Audience cannot relate with it. Remember, I'm thinking dollars. I'm thinking about the economic impact to the stakeholder who will eventually buy the product from. Okay, extremely important. Then in your product section, you talk about what is your solution. Most time founders, what they do is, our solution solves the problem and we reduce the time to do an X-ray. But you still did not tell me what is your solution. You've got to first tell me, hey, we are a AI imaging platform. We've built this technology over millions of X-ray records where we are now able to classify diseases faster. And this is the underlying technology. Okay, so you got to explain, we are software or hardware or a combination. This is the underlying technology, and this is what we do. Founders often go straight to what we do. Okay, so ensure you cover the key parts. Traction doesn't have to be revenue. It could be grants, product development, partnerships, regulatory approval, IP filing, right? It could be any of those non-revenue parameters also. The idea is to show what progress have you made so far. Then business model slide. How are you selling? Okay. So, hey, we have a B2B go-to-market. GTM means go-to-market. We have a B2B go-to-market strategy. We have 2 revenue lines, which is one-time integration fee and a SaaS subscription. And here is our pricing. And we sell to clinics and hospitals. That's it. 4 bullets, simple, to the point. Anything else is fluff. Okay. So it has to be very clear. It doesn't have to be too much. Very clear. Then market, is it a $10 billion market opportunity or not, right? And there is a reason for it. If I'm expecting you to have 100 million revenue in 5 to 7 years, let's say you capture 10% of the market, that means the market is 1 billion, right? You're at 100 million revenue, the market size is 1 billion, so you are essentially owning 10% of the market. That's very ambitious. So anything below 1 billion as the market size is something which doesn't fly, right? So you have to show me why this is a 5 to 10 billion market opportunity. Most founders here say we will capture 2%. No, show me a bottoms up approach. Show me number of patients who do x-rays in per month, per clinic, into number of clinics in Canada or US or whatnot. Show me that buildup of that market size and what is driving that growth or adoption today. Okay. Competition. Here, I'm not saying you have to be the best. What I'm saying is, can you help me understand who are your direct, indirect competitors? So let's take an example. I am a fintech platform for accounting. I help automate accounting tasks across multiple platforms, right? So who's your direct competitor? Maybe some other accounting tools, right? Who's indirect? All the consultants using Excel. Right? The idea in competition is I'm trying to understand whether you, as a founder, understand the market or not. I'm not trying to see that you're the best. I'm trying to see first, do you understand the market? Second, what parameters do you think you are better on and how can you improve? Right? So what is your ability, which is like, hey, customers will buy my product and not the competitors because of this spend. That understanding is what I'm looking for. Then you have the team slide, very simple, and I'll show you an example where founders make error. But what I'm looking for is not your photos, not your names. I am looking for what have you done, 20 years of experience across enterprise sales, or selling to Fortune 500 companies in North America. That's what I'm looking for, not the photo or the, okay. And then growth projections. How will you achieve the sales over the next 5 to 7 years, right? So here, don't just give me 2 million revenue. No, show me that, hey, my average contract value is 100K. I will have 20 paying clients, hence 2 million in revenue, right? I'm looking for that build. And lastly, of course, how much you're raising, right? And I'll show you some examples as well. So if you map this out in bullet format in a Word document, not in a PPT, that's where you start. Now, you will probably write 2 bullets on each or 3 bullets on each of these points. Then the part is to narrow it down, make it simpler, remove all the fluff, jargon. It has to be to the point, and it cannot be just textual. Okay. Remember, in this workshop, I'm not teaching you how to design a deck. There are plenty of templates out there. I'm more focused on what's the content which will actually get you an investor meeting, right? So you have to substantiate your text with some numbers. Now you've done this word exercise in a Word doc. Now here's what you do. Now you go to a PPT and create a blank template. Okay. Now remember, you had that one key message for each statement, right? You put that right at the top. Do not say the problem slide and then, no. Right at the top, it should be healthcare is a so-and-so problem because of these inefficient. Put that statement, put the 3 corresponding bullets below that, add one image or chart, you're done. There is no need to over beautify or overthink. If you're giving me simple statements with 2 to 3 bullets on each slide and maybe one key takeaways chart or number, that's it. Less is more important. Large font size. Anything which you think is compelling, you need to add, put it in the appendix or annexure at the end. Okay. This is really how it works beautifully in the actual pitching scenario. Okay. Any questions till now? Okay, let's get going. Okay, let's look at a few more examples. Okay, let's look at paw print. Okay, so I see this paw print, and this is a tagline, the official pet medical record. So when I read this, I immediately understand it's for the pets, it's a medical record. Amazing. Let's go ahead. Number one, pet health app. Okay, it's talking about a health app. Okay. Healthcare has been transformed in the last decade. Okay. Now, for me, if you ask me, this is a vague statement. Healthcare is big, right? But okay, maybe they're saying overall human healthcare has been transformed, right? There are 185 million pets and 2 kids per pet. So now they're giving me the market size, but it is not in dollar terms. Remember, pet records are inaccessible. Now, here is the problem statement, right? What I like about this deck, it has a clear message on each slide. What I do not like is it is not quantifying the problem still. Okay, and this is the problem today. Digital official records is not available. So this company is essentially trying to digitize all the records for the pet. Okay, but the problem with this deck is there is no flow to it. Okay, this is good in representation and clarity of the message, but there is no flow on what's happening. Now here comes the flow. Okay, so we are doing 200 million vet visits. This is what happens. This is the quantification. Okay, and this is how we are growing. Now, if you ask me how is this deck, I probably give them 6 on 10. Not much. Sorry, we have a message here. Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. So this was one of the examples. Let me maybe show you one more orchard. Okay, so let's look at this one. No tagline. I'm doing a live review with you in terms of how we look at decks. So this is no tagline. Okay, so I don't know what they do. Okay, so they say 48 billion huge opportunity. And what is the opportunity about? 75% of smartphones are uninsured. So immediately I realize it's a big market and it is about insurance for smartphones. Awesome. So one statement helped me understand what is this. Okay. Our phones have gotten smarter, but insurance hasn't. Right. So he's saying that clear and understandable. Awesome. So how does it work? You bring your device and bring your own device and they're not insured. Okay, so we are a smartphone insurance platform. Awesome, clearly understood. And we do this. So this is important. We are a platform, but this is what we do. This is the product. We take 3 minutes, we check for 35 things, and we check for detection and whatnot, right? So they're explaining. Now they're explaining further features of the product. The best part is it is neat and clean. Remember, also, it's not about number of slides. It's about clarity of the message that you send in that deck. Okay. And then they say, hey, this is what we have achieved so far. This is my traction in terms of policies, closed and pipeline and whatnot, right? This is my active funnel. Sometimes founders can also show their funnel active sales pipeline as form of traction. Okay. And this is my unit economics, right? So this is again a good example of, so this is not a good one. Here, I would have liked to see what's Bruno's background? Like, see, for example, if I put Gaurav here, investor doesn't care. You got to explain he's 20 years of experience in insurance industry. Then I would be very excited. Oh, they have a relevant background. So this slide does not do a great job. Okay, so this is just a live debugging, like live evaluation of a deck. Okay, so let's go back. These are some of the examples I thought I'll just show you. This is another example here. So we receive decks such as this one for technical AI products. Here, there's a lot of agentic AI floating in the market. So they will talk about all the data lakes and servers and whatnot. But remember, I'm an investor. I'm looking for some business or understanding. I don't even know what this means half the time, right? I'm literally lost, right? So avoid such stuff in your pitch decks. This is a beautiful pitch slide. Look at this. Micro business insurance isn't just broken, it doesn't even exist. So he's talking about This company is talking about micro businesses as a stakeholder, target customer persona, and it's talking about the pain point that they do not have insurance available easily. What are the challenges? Look how beautifully this company uses 8 icons, 8 data points in clearly telling. Today, it takes 10 weeks and to get an insurance policy. It is 35 pages and coverages across 7 policies, and there are so many exceptions. What this platform does, it saves 10 weeks to 3 minutes. It's all digital, one policy, and everything is covered. Look how simple this is. No fluff, no jargon, so simply explained. This is how your slide should look. It should communicate key data points and have one key takeaway message on the top. This one, oh, I received decks with full detailed EBITDA, profit and loss. No, we are not doing that. This is not due diligence, right? And I can't even see all of this. I'm probably looking at 2 to 3 minutes, right? So please, please, please avoid sending an Excel snapshot of the full detail. You can send a business KPI snapshot. So for example, let's say medical device. I'm just taking a random example. Number of clinics, number of device per clinics, average revenue per clinic. Those are business KPIs. Amazing. Show that too. But don't show me how many personal, that. This doesn't help. Okay. Then all this fluff slide, which like beautification. Look at the color. Sometimes we use AI algos to screen data as well. A lot of funds do that. So avoid such imaging part where I cannot extract the information. We got to do because too much volume, right? And look at the fluff. Huge market in mobile payment. What does huge mean? Put a number. Make it contextual, right? Defensible business and strong execution strategy. I can copy this point, put it in all the pitch decks across the world. It will be the same statement. So it is not contextual, is my point. Okay. Then my favorite team slide. Hey, we are the founders, coffee director, CEO. I have nothing to do. I'm not biased when I'm investing, when I look at you or your names. No, I am looking for solid data on your experience, relevant background, and ability to execute. So show me your image, show me designation, put 3 bullets on what's your past experience, put the logos of the companies where you have worked. That will be more hard hitting than this. Okay. This is still better, right? You have a photo, you have a name. It shows me the companies you've worked at, which shows me what's your network and experience like, right? So this is helpful. I would have still liked a few bullets to talk about what do you do or your experience, like 20 years in this, 15 years in this, right? Something which gives me an idea of your experience. But this is a relatively much better slide. Now, traction. Sometimes, you find it very difficult how to do. This is just an example. On the left-hand side, you could be like, we have 5 paying customers with 900K in revenue. We have 24 customers in pipeline worth 1 million. We have done 3 partnerships with Oracle, Google, so and so, whatever. I'm just making examples, right? We are a team of 7 where we have 4 advisors and 3 full-time members. And we have raised 500K in non-dilutive funding. This is how simple your traction slide can be, which tells me what's your progress on product, your partnerships, your team, and any kind of funding or anything else, right? It doesn't have to be only revenue. It can be non-revenue as well, right? Now, go-to-market slide or business model slide. A lot of times people really find it tough. Here is how I tell them they could do. And they're like, hey, we have 20 product features. Should I put them all here? No. Show what's live here. Maybe you want to call it XXX feature, whatever. Show that you're building 2 new features in next 2 years and what others. What is the customer category? Are you selling to SMB, startups, enterprises? What is the pricing you expect? Doesn't have to be accurate. We know it's a hit and trial, it will take time, but show me your thought process, right? And then show me if you have more revenue lines. So see, what did I do here? In this simple table, I said I'm a B2B business model. So I'm not doing B2C, I'm doing B2B. I have one product live, a feature live, and I'm building new features. I'm selling to these two customer segments, or one. Ideally, it should be one. I'm just giving example here. And this is my revenue. See how simple it can be in showcasing what you want to cover. Very important slide. Most founders miss this. They talk about everything. They don't tell me how will you be that 100 million revenue company in the next 7 years, right? Or are you on that trajectory? Okay. Please do not say I will acquire 2% market share and become 26 million company or whatever. No, show the build up. So like I gave an example, let's say you, so one is build this chart. Sorry, my bar charts are not showing it, but there's a bar below each of these numbers, right? Which is like, hey, I'm aiming to achieve 13.5 million in revenue in 2026. And my average contract value is 135K, and I will have 100 paying clients, or yeah, 100 paying clients in this. You put 100 and 135K here so that I understand what's the buildup of this. Okay. Very important. If you're not communicating that growth trajectory of, let's say, triple, 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 double, double, or different, there are different trajectories for different stages and business models. You've got to communicate that you're thinking large and rational. So do not put 50 million here in the first year, unless you really think that is doable. Okay. So it has to be well thought and rational, and you have to show this instead of that Excel snapshot. Show me this. Last slide. Very important again. Founders often say, hey, we are looking to raise 2 million to hire a team, build a product, and that's it. No, that does not help. You have to help me understand this. How much are you raising? Okay. How much is committed? How long will that money last you? Put valuation only if you already have a term sheet. If it is all in the air, it's in talks, do not put valuation. Then you tell me where you want to use the money and what are you going to achieve with it. If you don't tell me what are you going to achieve with it, it does not help. And I'll tell you why. When you raise some money, I want to ensure as an investor that it lasts you enough so that you achieve the business KPIs, which is this, for the next fundraising. Okay, so here is an example. Oops, sorry. Raising 750K for 24-month runway to onboard 12 paying clients with potential revenue of 4.6. If you give me this statement and then you give me this pie chart, I'm like, oh, this team has really thought through that yes, a fundraise should last for 2 years, because below, if you're raising for 12 months, it's a red flag. Fundraising process can take 6 months. So you should raise for enough months so you can focus on business. And you have clear-cut thought process on what quantifiable metric you want to achieve here, right? And yes, 4.6 million will help you raise a series A if this is a seed. Okay, this is how you gotta plan your slides. Remember, there is no beautification here, but it communicates the message. Okay, and these are some sources which happy to share with you. I really like this one. I do not get paid by them, but just giving an example. They give you a lot of examples of the different types of slides you can use. So for example, for a problem solution slide, they'll give you tons of examples of how past decks have been built, right? You can use any of them that resonates with your sector, stage, and whatnot. Then you'll be like, how do I represent competition, right? So they give you tons of examples to just see how to simply put a slide and not make it too uh, complicated, like financials, right? Strongly recommend not to use this. They put it here, but I gave you an example of this. This is more relevant and simpler to understand. Okay, so these are just some of the examples. I will share that link with you. Okay. Okay. Well, I don't know how we are doing on time. Oh, we are almost on time. Happy to take any questions if anybody has. Yeah. Yes, Sarah, please go ahead.
Hi, just a question when you're talking about your team and the experience that they've got. What if the experience of the team, like some of the team have got experience in that industry, but the other team have no experience in that industry, but have been doing other things completely different, but still entrepreneurial? How important is it to give details of that, or is it more sort of loosely then?
Okay, great question. As an investor, I'm looking for the information on the team who has equity in the company, because that's the team who's going to stay for the next 7 years, right? If there is some technical lead you have who's just an employee, no ESOP, nothing, I don't need that. I'm looking for CXOs. Let's say you're three, you're owning 30%, or whatever that person. So I'm looking for those core people whom I'm going to back for the next 7. Okay? And you can add advisors. So for example, let's say you have an advisor who has experience on the regulation side, who is helping you because your product needs a regulatory role. That you can add.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions, please? Anything to do with pitch decks? The aim of the workshop is not to show you beautiful decks. It's about how to make you understand how the audience perceives your deck and how you cannot be carried away by PPTs and this and that, and just take a Word doc and you know what goes in each slide, quantified, because I'm looking for dollar. I'm brutally honest as an investor. I'm here to make money for my limited partners. So if you show me that vision, hey, we are the right team, we are cracking a critical pain point in the industry, we have a business model in mind, and this is how we can get you to that 50 million to 100 million revenue in the next 7 years. Again, that is for software. For medical devices, it's different. For hardware, it's different. For life sciences, it's different. I just take an example of software so everybody can understand. If you can articulate that, investors are interested to take a call. Yes, James.
Have you seen any examples of, I guess, marketing stunts around pitch decks to grab extra attention?
Marketing, as in like sending out the deck, or
Like, well, like the deck is in your consideration pile, like they do something to target you or they send something to remind you about, to grab your attention on that. Have you seen any examples of?
okay, so your question is more on investor outreach strategy, right?
Yeah.
How do I get an investor interested? So I generally take a full 2 hour session on that with strategies and actual roadmap. But just to give an idea, a warm introduction works. Okay. Second, a cold outreach also works if your email is not one of those tools which sends 3 LinkedIn messages in 3 days. I block those people. I literally block those people on my LinkedIn, right? And your email, if you're sending me an email, it should not be a generic hi XYZ like a HubSpot template, right? It should be, hey Gaurav, we know you manage this one, you're in this space, we are building in that space, and you send me just 5 bullets, no thesis.
Mm.
So there is an email teaser format which I teach founders in other sessions, like other topics, which is like, how do you send just 1 bullet and 5 bullets, like 1 bullet, like problem, market, product, traction, financing, and you'll put a hyperlink to the pitch and you put your calendar. That's it. Right? So yes, those strategies work, Jane.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from the group right now? If not, if you can't think of anything and you have any last minute questions you'd like to ask, you can always send me an email and I can send them over to Gaurav and he can give a short synopsis on whatever it might be.
Yeah, I
That
just want to say, like, thank you, Gaurav. Like always, your presentations are so succinct, and the lack of questions from my standpoint is because of how succinct and particular you are. So thank you for sharing the slides and your commentary. It's always extremely valuable.
Glad to hear that, and always happy to improvise as well. If there is something which you're like, hey, we haven't covered this, or these are some of the topics in fundraising which would be of interest to you, please do write to Alex. I have everything at my end from A to Z on fundraising, so we'll be happy to assist you.
Yeah,
Thanks for the time.
Awesome. Well, I would just like to thank everyone on the call today and Gaurav for being here. It was a great session. If, like I said, if you have any further questions or would like to connect with Gaurav, just send me an email. I can put it in the chat and we can go from there. Before you disappear, I'm just going to put a feedback form in the chat for you to fill out. It always helps us with the content of our sessions, future sessions, and things like that. I'll also be mailing out a copy of the presentation, and you'll be able to rewatch the video if interested on our YouTube channel. In the meantime, please reach out if you have any further questions. And here are the forms and my email in the chat.
And feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there. You just Gaurav Bansal, you'll find it very easy.
Well, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Tuesday, and we'll see you next time on our Toolkit Tuesday.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody.